Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. So, College Football 27 has a new update. The biggest thing to know right away is that EA has been very clear that this update is part of a bigger rollout. They used their campus huddle post to lay out what was being worked on, what was already being adjusted, and what still needed more time. So, when people look at this and say, that is it, the answer is kind of yes and no. Yes, this specific update is pretty focused. No, it is not the whole story, because EA also previewed a larger set of Dynasty recruiting changes and other fixes that are still lined up for a future major title update. One of the more useful gameplay fixes here is the defensive package issue. Basically, if you picked a custom defensive package and the offense immediately went hurry up or no huddle, the game could throw your selection out and send you back to the default package. That is the kind of thing that drives people crazy in close games because it is not just a visual problem, it can mess with your whole defensive setup in a hurry. EA says that should no longer happen, and your package selection should now stick the way it is supposed to. The other gameplay fix that stands out is switch stick input delay. A lot of players use that mechanic to flip between defenders fast, and if it feels sluggish, the whole point of the tool gets lost. EA says they fixed an issue where switch stick could sometimes feel delayed when you were quickly swapping to different players. That sounds like a small sentence in the patch notes, but in actual gameplay, it matters a lot, because defensive reactions can live or die on that little bit of responsiveness. Now, on the Dynasty side, this is where the bigger conversation is happening. EA has been pretty open that the mode is built around a longer-term progression philosophy, and they use this update cycle to explain how they want coach growth and recruiting to work going forward. They also said the old-style sliders are being replaced with 3 preset coach XP speed settings: career, simulation, and casual, with career becoming the new default. Career is the slowest and most authentic style, simulation is a middle ground, and casual is the fastest. That is a pretty meaningful change for people who felt like progress was either too slow or too easy, depending on how they were playing. On recruiting, EA says it is tuning how CPU teams compete for top recruits, how they prioritize and retain players after offers, and how late cycle recruiting situations are handled when some recruits end up with no real offers on the board. They also said recruiting balance is being adjusted to better match expected distributions, and off-season player progression is being increased across the board. That last part matters because it means deeper Dynasty saves should see more player growth over time, including more guys eventually pushing into the 90 overall range. And then there are the items EA specifically previewed for a future major title update. That list includes the Hawaii recruiting bug, where recruits could incorrectly get an F for proximity to home, the issue where the risk of transfer bar could display wrong after a valid NAL offer, and recruiting budget tuning for schools. So if you are playing Dynasty and hoping this patch solved absolutely everything, that is not really the case. Some of the bigger recruiting corrections are still waiting for that larger update. Road to Glory also got some attention here, even if it is not the kind of attention everybody wanted. EA explained again that standalone XP sliders are not coming back because progression is now tied into the whole structure of the mode, including difficulty, weekly decisions, fitness, NIL deals, wear and tear, legacy score, scholarship bonuses, and on-field performance. That means growth is supposed to feel more connected to how you actually play and manage your career, not just a single slider you can move around. There is also an important fix for edge players in Road to Glory. EA addressed an issue where edge players could fail to trigger the position battles needed to move up the depth chart. They did note that there is still another fix planned for a future update to fully resolve the issue, so this is better, but not necessarily the final word on it. EA also said it is tracking a separate problem where some players cannot apply cap breakers in Road to Glory, and that fix is planned for an upcoming title update too. So the way I would sum this whole thing up is pretty simple. This update is mostly about cleaning up a few gameplay annoyances, tightening some Dynasty systems, and setting the stage for more meaningful changes later. It is not the giant everything patch a lot of players were waiting for, but it does move the game in the right direction by fixing a defensive reset issue, improving switch stick responsiveness, and continuing to address Dynasty and Road to Glory in a more deliberate way. EA has made it pretty clear that the bigger changes are still on the way, and this patch feels like one stop in that process rather than the finish line.